Neighborhood is an area that, if you go back, a decade ago, was one of the more crime-impacted neighborhoods in the city of Milwaukee. Significant. I mean, if you would look at the entire city and say where are some of the most crime-ridden neighborhoods, that would be one of the neighborhoods that you would point to and say that neighborhood is seriously impacted with violent crime. Today, it's completely opposite. The commitment of the community residents working together and working with the police is really what makes a difference. Home ownership, we know in neighborhoods that have more home owners living in those neighborhoods tend to have less crime. Neighborhoods that have fewer homeowners living in those neighborhoods tend to have more crime. Not to say that renters aren't concerned about their neighborhoods, but we tend to see that homeowners are going to take more of a vested interest in the neighborhood they live in. I can say that the Johnson Park neighborhood, there was a very strong commitment on the part of the homeowners to ensure that their neighborhood stays as free of crime as possible, because what really makes a difference there, because surrounding their neighborhood are some seriously crime-impacted areas that are within walking distance. Yet what keeps the criminal element out of the Johnson Park neighborhood? It's that community involvement. They're on they're on watch. They're watching for that suspicious vehicle or that suspicious person that they know doesn't belong in their neighborhood. Nobody knows better than the people who live in a neighborhood who belongs and who doesn't, what cars belong and what cars don't. And even the police officers who patrol those neighborhoods, that may patrol there every night, they're still only there for 8 hours. They're oftentimes called away for other calls in other areas. So they may know some of that, they don't know all of that. Policing in any neighborhood involves residents taking an active role. Don't stand by the sidelines. We know that the police alone cannot reduce crime. We know. I mean, we can look at studies where police departments have had here in the city of Milwaukee as well, where we've done major crackdowns in neighborhoods, and then we leave the neighborhood and crime comes back. What was missing was that community component. That's where Officer Torres had such an active role in the 3rd District, is with the community involvement. If you want to just talk about how the community prosecution unit worked in engaging community residents in problem solving.
Absolutely. The Johnson Park, we had our connections. We had cell phones where if they wanted to contact us, they were available to contact us. We handed everybody contact guides from the captain down. So captain, lieutenants, sergeants, there were phone numbers always readily available for assistance. And that says a lot about, our community prosecution unit, is that we gave this availability to have access to us rather than just calling the non-emergency number 933-4444. It's like, okay, that's just a number. Nobody really felt like anything was going to be done, just the regular police work. But when they had access to this contact guide and knew that there was a name behind this and there was a phone number that they could call and give, hey, I've been seeing some drug activity on this corner. Can you take a look at it? And us, being able to have that connection, saying, yeah, you know what, I am in that neighborhood. I'm going to drive right by. Let me see what's going on. And then calling that person back and letting them know, hey, by the way, you were right. We did, we took 4 guys in custody. They were dealing. We took care of the problem. And it's just so reassuring for the neighbors and just people in the community to know that they have that access to us instead of just the basic, well, only call the police when, there's trouble. No, let's call the police when, it's something that's minor, a little drug dealing, but can turn in major. It can turn into a shooting or it can turn into a homicide. So let's call the police on another level and have them come in and kind of clean up our streets.
Traditionally been closed environments. I think one of the biggest complaints from community residents is that the police aren't transparent, or the police don't care, or the police are a closed environment. We had our police officers driving through your neighborhood in a squad car with the windows rolled up and not paying attention necessarily to what's happening. That was the perception. So at District 3, we knew we had to change that perception. We had to become transparent. We had to become community friendly. We had to let the residents of the 3rd District, Johnson Park, and any neighborhood in that district know who their police officers were. The contact guide, not only did it give telephone numbers, direct cell phone numbers of these officers, they gave their email addresses as well. For the first time in the history of the Milwaukee Police Department, we were giving our community members numbers, direct numbers to talk to a police officer driving in a police car. And then we had these officers come into the community meetings as well. Instead of just the commanding officer, the captain and the lieutenant and the community liaison officer attending the meetings, we had the officers who were actually out there doing the police work, arresting people and solving problems, coming to the meeting, interacting with the residents, so they became first name basis relationships. It was no longer that police officer who's driving down the street. It was a first-name relationship. And that was so critical to our success in the 3rd District and building the relationship with Johnson Park and other neighborhoods, is knowing who your police officers are, knowing that there's somebody I can call. I'm just not calling that non-emergency number, that 933-4444, with some one of 100 different police operators is going to answer your call, who's answering calls for the whole city. I know I can pick up the phone and call Officer Torres, and she's going to come out and take care of my problem. And that was a key element in that relationship building. Gibson or Bentley who will call and say, these are the concerns of 3, 4, 5, 20 residents, versus in Mecca Park where 20 people are calling and saying, these are our concerns. It's the coordination is so important. So getting back to Johnson Park and Block Watch there, and how their neighborhood is structured, and that with that neighborhood organization, that's another reason why their crime reduction has been so significant.
First and foremost, the captain over at District 3 was very in tune with working with the community, and the community liaison officer, that was his job, to foster relationships with community residents. And I would say that the liaisons officers doing their best to answer questions, help us to understand the process, explain what tools they have available to them to address problems in the neighborhood. I mean, they deal with a litany of things, and they have training and access to resources on how to best leverage bringing pressure to negative elements in the neighborhood. Understand the whole concept of dispatching officers. What happens when you call and make a call, and you as a citizen, what should you expect when you make a call, and how you can make a call and feel that you're not being hassled because you made the call. And they took all of the mystery out of what happened, so we were able to have a good insight into encouraging people to make the call. This is what you can expect. This is what's going to happen. And, you know, quite frankly, people were hesitant because, you know, is my anonymity going to be compromised? You know, is going to be retaliation? Are they going to basically let people know that I was the one who called? And they understood those fears and reasons for hesitancy, and they've developed a program where you can communicate through whatever means works for you without necessarily exposing you to the negative elements. Do whatever it takes to get people to be willing to come forward and talk about problems in their area. Then once they have the documented information, they take it and go with it and do what's necessary to address the issues that have been identified.